Hi everyone, and welcome back to Lecture 6, Video 3, which is a continuation in our Learning Theory series. So, you've probably already been introduced to the term flow before, but we'll take the time in this video to unpack and understand flow in relation to the design of a level. This content is in reference to Mihai Csikszentmihalyi's book, Finding Flow, the Psychology of Engagement with Everyday Life, that I introduced you to in the previous video. So, Csikszentmihalyi defines flow as a state of concentration that leads to a sense of engagement and creativity. It's a balance between the complexity of the challenge at hand and the current skill level of the subject. A challenge that is too high relative to skill generates anxiety. Alternatively, too low a challenge leads to boredom. We can map this onto level design progression. First, we introduce a mechanic. Second, we develop a skill in a safe environment. Third, we increase the challenge, etc., etc. But we can also connect it to learning. So, if we explore mapping player experiences onto Csikszentmihalyi's flow diagram, we may get something that looks like this. A difficult level may stay mainly within the flow channel, but start breaking into the higher level of challenge, not to the point of anxiety, but enough to challenge the player. An impossible level or game, so let's take for instance something like Dark Souls, which is generally quite a challenging game. This verges more into the impossible area, so you break out of the flow channel and more into the anxiety-inducing gameplay for those kind of clutch moments. Whereas an unchallenging level would dip out of the flow channel and more into the boredom side of things. So the player ends up feeling bored or disinterested and then gives up. For a balanced learning experience, we're looking to keep the player within that optimal flow channel, piquing their interest by delving further into challenge, but not to induce anxiety, but aiming to never let the player feel bored. So, flow as a psychological concept is well explored in game design, as well as learning. Jenova Chen, co-founder of that game company, is one of the most prominent game designers to have discussed flow in relation to designing experiences for players. I'd like you to dedicate some time to reading Flow in Games and Everything Else by Jenova Chen, which I've put a link to in the PDF. We'll now talk about dynamic difficulty balancing, or dynamic difficulty adjustment, DDA. This is the consideration of adjusting the challenge of the game or level to adapt to the performance of a player. This relates directly to the concept of flow. The aim is to maintain the player in the flow channel. If the player is evidently finding the game too hard or too easy, then that could be a problem. They would be disinterested in your game or level and then just give up. This is still about learning also, as we're concerned specifically with how well the player has learned the skills that we want to teach them, and how this relates to how difficult they find the challenges that we set them. But you don't need dynamic difficulty adjustment to consider mapping difficulty to the player experience. We should be doing this anyway, as part of our level design process. We'll now talk a bit about learning and difficulty. We can map the concept of a flow channel onto an ideal learning journey or difficulty curve for a game level. So let's take this example, where you gain skills and you progress through a game. There are peaks and troughs in the challenge or difficulty. This is a typical game flow. Within this, consider that each peak and trough represents a microcycle of learning. Players learn something through experience, which enhances their understanding of the game or level, and then put this into practice. Successful application of knowledge allows the player to advance to the next level or area. In simple terms, we might correlate each peak and trough as the introduction of a new mechanic, as per the Game Maker's Toolkit video at the start of this lecture. So maybe we introduce the ability to sprint, then jump, then collect a torch to explore darker areas, and then add a bow to allow you to defeat ranged enemies or complete long-distance puzzles. Or we think back to the Week 2 lecture. We could be mapping our per level goals, scenarios and events onto these peaks and troughs. So we'll wrap it up for this video, and in the next short video we'll move on to discuss difficulty, failure and punishment in games. I'll see you there. Thank you.